So yeah, with that being said, Justin, if you want to go for it, dude, let's hear about the passing of Paladus Drago.
All right. So y'all watch your ears. There might be some screaming. Kind of do a little microphone magic here. Okay, so it's not right in front of my mouth. All right.
So we'll just say the last thing, Justin, that you remember was having your head cleaved off and, like you said, lightning coming out of your face.
Oh yeah. So so then we go north. We see Paladus Drago laying on the ground, and Austri and Oidarmix gather around him. And the camera just sort of pulls back above the city and heads over north, kind of the path that these poor schmucks that Austri's hired are going to take. So straight up north, beyond the Forbidden City, over Duban, and into the Badlands that stretch into Gabothos. And we're flying across until we come to a mountain range, and it's dark, and there are storm clouds over it, and we go into the mountain, and we come around some corners and some hallways that are shorn from the very stone themselves. This would be a dwarf home, and we come to a door that's slightly ajar, and we can hear screaming inside. As our ears start to train in on the thing, we can hear that the screaming is actually somebody preaching, giving a sermon of sorts. So we come into this room, and there are probably 30 young dwarves sitting on these benches. They're arranged more like pews, and there's a front area that's risen up like a dais, and there's a dwarf up front wearing a black robe, giving some sort of sermon to these young dwarves who have their heads shaved. They're wearing simple dark robes, and they appear to be, listening to what he's saying and sort of praying along with him. And then we tune in on what he's actually telling them. And he says, "Deep within the hearts of mortals there is a high mountain peak, and it is cast in darkness. And beyond there is a light like the color of blood, and it is not the sun, but flame and heat. And around the foot of that peak there gather the wretched souls, the unfaithful, the meek. And they are naked, and they rage, tearing of the flesh and drinking of their blood. And upon that peak there are the chosen children, the high priests, and the dread, and they wait in the crevices. And they are terrible to behold, and woe unto those that try that slope, for their faith is tested and found wanting. And lo, upon that peak there are the widespread wings of fury, and the far-flung voice of rage. And lo, upon that peak there is hate, and there is flame. And lo, upon that peak there is Svarte. And his eyes are the twin burning jewels of fate and fire. And who among you children will brave the mountain peak and bear witness to the god of death?" And so the dwarves sitting there begin to rock and chant what is called the Oath Cairn. And we can see that they sort of go into a daze themselves. And we fade out of that room and come into this otherworldly place. A mountain peak straight up, completely dark, and see the setting that he painted for you. There are these fiendish creatures around the bottom as these priests sort of come in through a fog, a haze, and travel toward the peak to make their way to the top. And the unfaithful, the ones who don't truly believe in their own power, are torn apart by these fiendish creatures at the bottom. And as they come up the side of the mountain, those that make it to the mountain itself, the ones who are weak in spirit, who are not truly strong, are cast down by the demonic visages of high priests and dread knights that live upon the peak. And then those few that start to make it to the top just as they think that they've passed the test, just as they believe that they are about to become full-flung priests. They find out that this is a most auspicious, a glorious, and a terrible day. It is the homecoming of a dread knight. When he is at his most dangerous. And it is Drago returning to the mountain. He is a great black dragon, and he consumes them, tearing them piece from piece, destroying them in his wrath, stopping only when he comes to the foot of Svarthane, and he rests back inside the peak. And of the 30 dwarves that entered into that place, only 3 come out of the trance alive. And their bodies are lying on the ground, smoking, slightly burned. And we come later on, when these 3 have passed the test, have taken the oath and become priests, and a new Dread Knight comes along to bear witness to what they saw at the foot of Svarthane. He is called Malleus Dracus. He is a dwarf. His head is completely shaved like theirs. He has a big black beard. And on his head, his naked head, there's a tattoo of a dragon. And as I said, he comes to oversee and bear witness to the new priests. And he asks them, "What did you see in the heart of Svarthane?" And they answer in unison, "Dread, dread, dread." And he says, "And what did he report of his life in service?" And they answer in unison, "The enemies of Svarthane." And he says, "And by what name are they known?" And they answer in unison, "Winterskin, Winterskin." And then finally we come to the mountain, a cave, back into that dark place, and enter into the home where Drago waits to be called again. And he rests on a throne of blood. Red tapestries paint his walls, and he looks pleased
tapestries.
with the terror he has wrought.
Okay.
Lubeless and with spikes.